everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the torch shop. Today's another marble day. We're going to do a marble without using any frit. That's kind of different for me. Going to do a pattern that I've done before. I'm not sure if I've done a video on this exactly, but I've got some color laid out. I just need to pull some clear stringer and a little plunge piece. So let's get into it. So I just about got started here and forgot one of the projects I had to do. Apparently I left my notes in the house. But I think we got it all laid out. We're gonna work on this, just got some random rod here to pull out some clear stringer. It's kind of a big rod to be pulling out a little tiny thin stringer, but my left hand I've got some 5mm, which looks pretty small, but I actually would like to get something a little smaller than that. Can't really see, but I'm stretching my arms out as far as I can go here. Don't really need that much, but that's kind of down closer to 2mm or something. Okay, then I've got a piece of Sublime, and actually that's what I used last time. Well, last time I used Sublime I was doing the same sort of thing, but we're just going to clean off this end and pull out another piece of glass to work with. I don't know why I chose to use this stuff, but at one time I kind of liked the way it looked with gold fuming on it. So we'll try and lay down some gold on here. Try and do that kind of heavy. So this is going to be plunged into the core of this marble, but I want a clear end, so we'll use our nippers. We'll cut off that tip, and then we'll just flame polish that just a bit, and that should get us ready to roll on to our main build rod. And we need to gather up some glass on here. So today's going to warm up a little bit. I'm trying to get out here, get going fairly early this morning. Last couple of marble videos I've run kind of a long time with them, and today, we'll see how it goes, but my intention anyway is to try and get this done a little quicker. But what I think and what the glass wants to do is two different things, oftentimes. So I'll get that cut end cleaned off. All those sharp edges just always boil up and make a big mess. So as we gather this back, we're looking for bright stuff on the surface. Kind of an indication of scratches or nicks or impurities. I brushed off my torch faces before I started. Particularly this Red Max torch, it tends to kind of produce some carbon on the face, so you need to clean that off. And sometimes when I use the tweezers, I introduce more bubbles and problems. Then you have to pull those out. And as I often do when I'm getting into this phase, trying to figure out how much of a gather I want to make. So trying to gather this back and keep this glass clean on this little area in the heat zone tends to pile up some kind of funky glass. It's a little hot there. Let that kind of drop off and sag there a minute. Okay, work this into where we're pretty clear. Nothing too obnoxious there, and then we'll let this shoulder settle down. This transition area here where it's been heated the last time, it's need to get that connection nice and solid. So our next phase, before we do this plunge, we want to get a good heat going on this end. So our plunge piece, we want it to be nice and warm, but not so soft that it's getting melty. I like to rest it on the graphite here when I do this. So just touch down, rotate it some, try and be kind of on center. Quite a mushroom end on it. That's alright. So we're trying to heat this up at this point and get that air to kind of push out that end. Not sure if you can really see in the video, but the last little bit of that plunge pushed some air in there around it. So we're trying to just get this clear glass really hot. Push that air out to the end. And then we're going to transition into getting our cone shape. And we're going to go ahead and kind of soak this graphite paddle. I had some questions about how I'm dunking this graphite paddle in water, and a lot of times I just kind of abuse my graphite and get it really hot and then cool it off, but it does work nicely to soak it a little bit. Makes it much smoother. It's much easier on the graphite, so you're not plunging it into the water boiling hot. And it does actually soak up some water. Anyway, we can let that settle down. Alrighty. Let's see, that's done with that one. Then we'll heat up this tip and pull this out to a sharper point. Okay, fine polish that face a little bit, and we're going to do some fuming on here. We're going to try and do gold and silver. And kind of look at those optics there. Okay, gold we want mostly up on the white end. And then we're going to introduce a little silver, adjust our flame a tad. The silver is going to be a little farther out just towards the tip. Okay, that'll give us a little bit of a gradient. And then we're going to use our small clear stringer we made. Trying to figure out how much of a flame I want for this. So I'm going to spiral on this clear stringer. I wanted kind of a tight spiral with lots of banding, so that's why I wanted kind of a thin clear piece for this. The base glass gets a little hotter. Dang it. Let me get out here to the towards the tip. It's harder to control. I made kind of a mess of that. Oh well. The conditions laying down that stringer is a lot different when it's at the fat section. It gets out to that tip, things get hot, get a little out of control. So just need to melt that down, burn out some excess fume here. And we'll do a little smoothing of this cone shape. We have a bit more definition. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, behind that, we're going to do some Aqua banding. And for this, we're going to do multiple runs. So we're just going to start here and come down at a bit more of an aggressive path. Okay, then we're going to try and find 180 here, more or less, and divide those lines. And then we're going to come in and divide those lines again. Okay, that's basically our banding program. So that gives kind of a contrast between the tight spiral fume lines and these color lines. Yeah, I think we'll take this opportunity to tighten up this end. A little flame polish here. Alright. Let that settle for a minute. Grab a sip of coffee. Got the his and hers dragons. Okay, the solid background on this is going to be red. So start out trying to define this edge on the color. Okay, we're kind of lined up edge to edge, and then we'll break free and leave a little gap. This stringer is kind of pieced together from some little odds and ends, and consistency isn't all that great. Okay, now we come back around and fill in, hopefully, that gap that we left. And doing this part, I'm trying to press that color glass into that groove. Still wind up with a few little bubbles or trails or lines or something or other, but this helps to do this right. It helps to make a pretty smooth background. It's kind of what I was saying, not using frit, doing this to create a field of color. Again, a little messier here at the short end. Okay, then we fill in any little spots that we think don't quite get coverage. Alright, so now we have got our nice cone with a plunge in the middle, some fuming effects and some color banding. And now we're going to mess it all up. So we're going to try and do some shaping here. Okay, so then we need to try and keep modifying our triangulation pattern. So taking quite a bit of pressure here to get this to a triangular chisel shape. Okay. Let's see. Next thing, before we do any of our fill-in, we need to do some fuming. Trying to get this red. This red likes to take, well, gold or silver. It really likes to take fuming. Oops, I just dumped my piece of silver off. Yeah, grabbed it. Okay. Wow, I'm liking where we're at now. Hope you all are doing well out there. Trying to keep it chill zone here. It's all good. It's all good in the torch shop. I say torch shed. Alright, we want to retain the shape that we have right now, but we want to add clear glass and make it round. So the first pass, we're just covering it up. Kind of similar to what I wind up doing with most of these marble backs. And get some layer of clear to kind of protect the pattern shape. And not to get the base so hot that it starts smearing or pulling the color around. So keeping the base fairly cool. I was out on a riding lawnmower yesterday, and it was pretty windy. It's really dry and dusty, so I had the mask on, and kind of nasty out, really. But so I don't know if it was when I was out mowing or what, but it seemed like I got a couple of bug bites. We really don't have a lot of bugs right now. It's one thing about this area in western Montana, we don't get a lot of bugs necessarily. Sometimes we've got a lot of irrigation water going and stuff in the fields around us, and sometimes mosquitoes can be bad. Sometimes the little gnats can get pretty bad in the next couple weeks. And somebody got to me, I think, I don't know, got a couple little weird spots on my belly that seemed kind of strange. I might have got a spider or somebody else, creepy crawly, that bit me. No big deal. But because we have our commercial beehives here in the field, we try and keep water going a lot of places. Bees actually need a lot of water. Keep the hive cool. So we have like a bird bath. It's been modified some, but it was a bird bath that my mother made that was up at our summer cabin years ago. This year is the first year it's kind of become a bee watering hole in the hot weather. You have to fill that thing up a couple times. It's only a couple inches deep. And then the wind, we're exposed here, pretty open location, and we get these winds that start blowing. Not that the wind is really crazy, but when it's hot, it's just a dry, oh man, it just sucks the water out of everything. Okay, kind of gently heat that stuff in. As usual, I want to keep this end, a little bit of color is peeking out the end. So now it gets a little weird because I have to try and add the clear glass just on these flat areas. And by leaving those edges just covered with a minimal amount of clear glass and adding glass into these flat sections will help induce our triangular core to stay real angular. Now this particular style marble, this back fill-in cleared, it's pretty messy looking. That's okay. Continue to selectively place some clear glass and melt it in. This style marble also has a tendency to grow really big because of this fill-in additive process, so I'm probably just about ready to move on. It's cooking pretty good. This is one of those instances where actually using the marble mold kind of prematurely or aggressively is kind of helpful because it kind of let our glass kind of positioned. Kind of a debate with myself whether I need to add more clear or not, but hard to figure out. Again, just trying to be kind of selective of where we add some clear, influence the shape. Sometimes you can get this whole thing hot enough and do some marbling and try and kind of rotate, and you get a little bit of a corkscrew look into this, but this one's pretty square, yeah, square, pretty triangular. I may not want to try and influence the shape into a twisting motion, but this would be the time when you get this really hot and start using that marber to spin it. It can get a little difficult to visualize. You got to really focus on the silhouette, because the optical displacement there of the clear glass can get kind of confusing to look at. That's looking pretty good. Now I'll do a little work on the lens side here. Alright, now we need to get this to settle down. Alright, background color. We've got some Silver Strike 5. And some, oh, this is Atlantis Sparkle, I think. I do try and keep the colors labeled on the end. I use twist ties and try and keep it in a bundle with stringers that have been pulled out and different pieces of glass. There's a lot of borosilicate glass. It's hard to identify once it's lost its labeling. This is double amber purple. I did a little change up of my kiln cycle to hopefully give this a chance to strike in the kiln a little bit. So because this is an amber purple, we need to really try and heat this in and get the haze out. Gotta kind of get that amber purple to a pretty extreme heat to get it to run clear. And now as soon as it gets away from the heat, it'll try and start striking a little bit, and that's okay. From this point on, it is what it is. It's going to go through different heat steps, and I can't totally control the heat cycles at this point from now on. So that's where you just kind of pick different amber purple family colors for a certain job like this and see how they behave, what kind of results you get. Okay, heat up our tungsten pick here and see if we can rake some lines. Okay, it's a little stressy there. thought there was more spots that needed some attention, but not too bad, I don't think. Sometimes until you really heat this up, you start seeing issues you got to deal with. It's looking pretty good. Again, because you introduce all that wiggling around, it's basically stressing the glass. So you want to really heat it up to a pretty fluid state on the surface there to get it to settle into its new configuration. Alrighty. Roll one now. I keep using the same punchy sticks for quite a few marbles, and you get to some point where they're a little on the short side, but as you kind of somewhere along the line, I'm using a stick, and I wind up just using a stick a little bit. By stick, I mean a third of the original 5-foot pieces, and then I can look at that and say, oh, that'd be a good punchy size, and keep that set aside. But I haven't had one of those for a while, so I think I have to just cut some pieces that's the right comfortable size. You don't want them too long and get in the way, make it more likely you're going to bang into something and knock the punchy loose. You want them long enough to get away from the heat. Okay, really open this up. Get that diameter set up where it needs to be, and pile up this clear glass lens. Surge tank kind of runs out of oomph, and I have to Go down to the small flame and let it kind of recharge a little bit. I've got 4 10-liter oxygen concentrators that are all the kind of the old-fashioned modified version. They probably put out around 15 psi, and they're all kind of set to max out at maybe around 8 liters. And then I've got an old propane tank. It was one of the 100-pound biggest portable tank you use generally, and I don't know where I got that thing from. Somebody left it here. I don't know what. It's old, but still in pretty good shape. And I went through a whole process of cleaning it out. It's been a long time now, so I can't remember all the steps I used, but I started with some kind of volatile solvent like acetone or something a little bit. I kind of doubt I used acetone, but then used a strong alkali cleaner. So hot water, soapy hot water basically, but not just Dawn detergent, although Dawn is pretty good stuff really, but probably some TSP, old-fashioned trisodium phosphate, some kind of nasty thing like that. Boiling hot water. I'm going to roll it around on the floor for a while with a heater on it. Kept it bloody hot. You know, maybe like a propane portable space heater thing as Mr. Heater deals. And dump that all out. Rinse it out with more boiling water. And then use a good amount of isopropyl alcohol to dry it. Isopropyl alcohol will suck up the moisture. Dump that out, and then it's going to be for oxygen service anyway, so you get one of your concentrators, stick a hose down to the bottom of the tank, prop it up so it's able to get the moisture out basically, and let that setup run for, you know, a day or something, a long time. Let it dry that thing out. Which basically you need some kind of sequence of a solvent, a high alkaline hot cleaner, rinsing, and then in this case, because it's a surface you can't really get at very well, to dry it, then isopropyl alcohol is a good thing to turn to, and use a generous amount of that. Swish it around. Of course, you're checking all these things. I mean, if it's not running clear, if it's still got gunk in there, it's like you got to repeat the whole cycle maybe. But it's one thing about using it as a surge tank for relatively low pressure. Oxygen becomes more reactive the higher the pressure is, and then you get to liquid oxygen. That's a whole nother thing. Now, of course, when people use liquid oxygen for glasswork, they're pulling it off the gaseous output. You do not want to mess with liquid oxygen, you know, in its liquid form. It will turn just about anything combustible. when I was working at Rocket Research. In all the years I was there, they never had any liquid oxygen, but they had, in the past, some programs that required it, and some of the old techs that I worked with, they were like, you know, that stuff, there was only one guy actually in the facility that was allowed to work on that. And they told a lot of harrowing tales of that. One other thing nastier is nitrogen tetroxide. The classic safety film of someone wearing a polycarbonate face mask and a leak of that nitrous tetroxide. I can't even say it. Nitrogen tetroxide. A little stream of it just went right through that polycarbonate like it was nothing. I don't think he fared very well from that episode. So never underestimate the power of pure oxygen, even just normal gaseous oxygen, to make things highly combustible. If people get the wrong idea, they think oxygen is explosive or propane is explosive, and the mixture of the two is what's explosive, and it has to be the right mixture. It's not just any old mixture of the two gases. It has to be within a relatively narrow band of combination. I'd have to look it up to see what that is, but some materials, it's surprising. It's very specific. It's like gasoline, liquid gasoline by itself. You can throw a flame right at it and it won't burn. It needs to vaporize, get some oxygen in there, and then it can burn. But the hydrazine rocket fuel that we mess with, that will spontaneously decompose, as they like to say, with any kind of catalyst, rust being a common catalyst. When that fuel hits a catalyst, it instantly, well, combusts. It shouldn't explode unless it's really confined somehow. But I've seen it where the ground is on fire because there's a little bit of ground, of rust in the dirt. I'm really surprised in modern spacecraft stuff, things I hear about. Some of the people I like Tim Dodd, talk about hypergolic fuels, and nobody hardly ever mentions that hydrazine is a common mono-propellant. It just needs a catalyst bed to react with. It doesn't burn per se, as something with an oxidizer will burn. And it decomposes at about 1800 degrees. N2H4. It's just nitrogen and hydrogen. That's how the chose it as the fuel for the Viking landers that were the first landers on the moon. So they didn't want to introduce carbon or oxygen. It might mess up any signs of life. Okay, we're getting this clear lens cooked in. We'll go into our marble mold and we can get started on our lens shape. Well, it looks like I've got an excessive amount of clear glass on the front. But most times, at this stage when I think that, and then I start working on the back side, it doesn't prove to be true at all. So that's kind of the rough shaping of the front lens. And you can see the back side is not very round. It needs to be rounded up. It's always kind of a class if you want to do overhand or underhand. Sometimes you try them both, see what feels good. Touch that down, and just let that kind of solidify. Takes a while to really firm up. So I'm going to heat this other punty on the end. I'm going to get that to come free and then hang this kind of vertical, trying to keep it on center. So the punty is still wandering. You have to keep rotating it just to keep the punty from letting it droop. Okay, now for the back side. And another heat cycle on that amber purple glass. And kind of hold this end up in the air, let it fall back on its own. Now this is where this punty rod's a little short. It's awfully very hot. Cover up with some Kevlar. shape's changing a little bit. We'll come in flat on this marble mold. Leave that little bump out, and let that try and kind of ease in on its own. Okay, next trip into the marble mold, we're going to go all the way up. See that bump out? And then we're going to use some pressure and kind of squeeze that glass to fill up around the circumference. First, call that a hot take on the interior. So you can kind of see that triangle well go all the way down there. Okay, now it's spinning pretty free. Looking at the reflections, it seems to be pretty good around the perimeter, perimeter, diameter, transition zone between color and clear. So we run it for a little bit. When it's feeling nice and skinny like this, it's a good shape. And let that pour cool down a little bit. Then we're going to come in here and heat the surface. Again, you see you get these heat cycles with that amber purple that you can't fully control what it's going to do. But this is the last high heat cycle it's going to go through. Okay, all that good. For the back side, then we just got to finish up the front. And we need to get our whole marble to settle down. We've got the shape really nice. It was spinning really smooth. So right now we want to just keep rotating. We don't want to lose that shape. Trying to keep it pretty much level. Okay, this last punty, we want a decent little bullet shape. Heat the glass surface till it's glowing, heat the rod till it's glowing, touch the two together. Stop shaking so much. One of those little steps, you seem like you're all on target and calm and steady, and then you get a little shake going on. So, oh, stop that. Okay, that looks pretty clean. Sometimes I don't get all of the glass pulled out of there from that punty on the front lens, and it'll leave a little ring there that is optically noticeable. It's not a physical surface deviation, but it's an internal optical effect. Yeah, I don't really want that. Okay, we're going to get this front face pretty hot. Come into the marble mold gently. What we want there is to see some ripples all the way out to the very front face, indicating that that front face is not flattened off. It is impacting the marble mold all the way out to the front. I'm going to do this one more time. I'll let it settle for a little bit longer. And that feels pretty smooth. Then we're just into the flame polishing of the front here. The very, very tip of the front face is going to have some wrinkles in it. And you can't really mess with those. The marble mold is not going to help you get rid of those, so you just got to use the repeat, rotation, rinse and repeat. And fuming, I got little spots all over. I think that silver fume maybe threw out some little specks. Add some interest to it. Okay, try to get that front face really toasty. Now, you can also see at this point that back surface has got some nice color. Lighting on the camera, you can't really tell. It's a messed up color wise, but it's looking really good. Okay, another step to let this cool down until we can knock off our punty. Well, it came together as planned. That's always a bonus. Okay, so we're going to come down and hover over our marble mold and the tweezer's wet. Get some water on this open connection. And that kind of left a raggedy mess. So once in a while, it seems like there's enough excess glass here. I actually want to kind of pull some of that off. Otherwise, we'll just melt this in. And this represents another heat cycle to the amber purple that's on the end of the marble. It's going to have some different effects because it's getting some of it superheated, and it'll go through a whole different striking profile. Okay, well, I think we're just going to run with that. It's going to have a little wobble there on the very end, but that's pretty good. Alright guys, we made it. Whew, another successful marble. Got her done before noon. That's good. Looking pretty sweet. Pop this into the oven. Oops, I just splashed water. Set this other can of water over here just in case I needed some more water. There we be. Got another marble going. See how that comes out tomorrow morning. It's always exciting to pull marbles out of, or any glass out of the kiln. See what it looks like the next day. So anyway, we want you all to be good, be well. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. Be kind. We'll see you next time.